It's a brand new month, and it's time for a brand new episode of the Daftaboutcraft podcast. Welcome along to episode number 3. We're both here. It's me, Dave D.
And me, Dave B.
And we hope we find you fit and well in September. We've got all the usual goodies coming up for you in the next half hour, 40 minutes or so. Lots of features, trying a few beers, a Hype Or Tripe feature where we see if a big hype beer lives up to the reputation it's got, and some general talk and chit chat about the craft beer scene as well. Should just say thank you for the hundreds of people who've downloaded our first couple of episodes from all over the UK, all over Europe, and further afield as well. It's really, really encouraging to see so many people getting involved. And thanks for all the follows on our Facebook page and the Instagram and the Twitter feeds as well. And if you do want to follow us on any of those platforms,
then please get in touch. There's loads of ways, as Dave says, to do it. On Instagram, we are Daftaboutcraft1. On Twitter, we're Daftaboutcraft1 as well. That's with a capital D. And we are also on Facebook. We've got our own page. That's Daftaboutcraft as well. Please do get in touch. We'd love to talk to as many of you as possible. We have had some great little chats with some people so far, but the more the merrier. If you want to ask us anything or want to just generally talk all things beer, we will very happily listen.
And we'd love to hear from you on the email as well. And that is daftaboutcraft1@gmail.com. So you can get in touch with us. Loads of different ways there. We'd love to hear from you. Well, we've been out and about, as usual, over the last month, trying out loads of different beers all over the place, and we'll be sharing our thoughts with you on those beers. And we're going to kick off with our first feature of the month, which is Brew To Me, where we crack open a can from a brewery we've never encountered before. And, well, Dave B is going to start things off.
Daftaboutcraft.
So I have a beer from Brew Co. A little bit of research tells me they're Middlesbrough based. I was a little bit confused because it did seem that there might be a Leeds influence. I think it's actually the guys from Brew are Leeds and they are based in Middlesbrough. But anyway, the beer I've got is High Roller, which is a DDH Pale Ale, 5.4%. The reason this stood out is there was a slightly different hop combination, which is something I'm really trying to push quite hard at the moment and make sure I don't just settle for Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic on repeat and keep trying different hops out there. This is Citra and Galaxy, but then the wild card is Mandarina Bavaria, a hop I have had, but not for a long time, so I can't really remember what it's going to be doing for this. These guys, what they seem to be playing on, which is something I really like as a child of the 80s, is they're going for the real 80s retro look on the cans. I know they've done a series which is video game influenced. This one, High Roller's got a couple of dice, gambling chips on there, but we've gone for the real bright colours. So it certainly caught my eye.
Big question is, what does it smell like?
They say on the back that it is using their fruit salad yeast. And I must admit, I do get that. I've got the fruit salady nose.
Is that the fruit salad as in the 80s sweet, or the fruit salad as in the sort of tinned fruit salad?
I hope it... Well, this was more the 80s sweet, definitely. It did sort of smell... Excellent. It's probably the can playing it to my taste buds, but the can has pink and yellow primarily, and the smell sort of went back to the childhood of pink and yellow sweet fruit salad.
And he's going for a mouthful. Does it live up to the expectations?
So the dry hop's really there. The Galaxy comes through. The Citra's kicking around in the background. I'm not getting loads of the Mandarina yet, but it's not an unpleasant drink so far.
Got to say, that colour looks very nice as well.
It is a nice, vibrant yellow, I suppose, in the glass.
Now, when you pour something out, you want it to look nice, don't you? As well, it's all part of the experience, I think.
I am a magpie for can art. That definitely suckers me in more often than not. And then if something pours out really big and vibrant and thick, I'm sort of already probably marking it up a little bit in my head that I should enjoy this. This isn't bad. The dry hop's actually really heavy. The more I'm drinking this, the more it's coming through. Hypercritical, I'd like a little bit more body, but that's being really picky. This is a really nice introduction to these guys. If I saw another can of it, I'd drink that. And if I saw other stuff from them, because I haven't seen too much down south yet from them, I'd be interested. I've had a little look on their website. They seem quite heavy on their pails from what I've seen with the other beers they're doing. So I'm certainly going to keep an eye out and find some more from them.
I think that's one of the best praises you can give to a brewery. If you try one of their drinks and you want to go back for more, they've succeeded, haven't they? They've done their job.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm now intrigued, and I'll quite happily seek them out. So if anyone out there sees some Play Brew and they haven't had it, I'd certainly recommend it if you're into your DDHs.
Right, so it's my turn now on our Brew To Me feature, and I've got something here which I picked up from a tremendous place in Whitby. If you're ever up there in North Yorkshire in Whitby, you must go and visit the people at Green Dragon. Very, very hospitable people. I can heartily recommend you pay them a visit, but maybe if they offer you their 50% whiskey, you steer clear of that, because I had quite a very interesting Sunday afternoon in there. They were plying me with whiskey after I'd gone through their whole menu of beers, but very nice people. But do watch that whiskey. Anyway, I picked this up from there while I was there, because they've got their bottle shop as well as a little bar, and it's from the Yorkshire Dales Brewing Company, and it's called Stonker. And, well, I really hope it is a stonker. 8%. It's described as having enticing chocolate flavours with a tonka and vanilla finish, decadently velvet and smooth, sumptuous, gliding mouthfeel. Sip in your glass or pour over your dessert. Well, I've already had my dessert and that's gone now, so I'll have to just make do with pouring it into the glass. But I hope this lives up to its name. I've got very high expectations. Oh, well, that's a good start. It's gone all over the. It's gone all over the desk.
It did sound quite a lively pour. So are we with a porter here or a stout?
I think.
What's it describing itself as?
Well, it doesn't actually say, but I'm going to go for stout, I think.
Did sound very
it's
highly pressurised when it went.
It's been sat there on the desk for about 3 hours, just very, very lively, this. It smells how I would expect it to smell. I was looking at some of the other beers they've got for sale, the Yorkshire Dales Brewing Company. I got the impression they were really quite their roots are in real ale rather than what we might call craft ale these days. But this looks and smells very crafty to me.
Cocoa bean, is that what you're getting?
You can smell that. There's no sort of roastiness or... It smells spot on, to be honest with you. Now, that head's really died down. It is quite thin, but I think Tom Coco from Brew York is on the thin side as well, if I recall.
I think the Imperial's not bad. The normal is on the thinner side, but then you would expect that at the ABV. There's a rather quizzical look on your face there. That's interesting.
Well, it's not Imperial Tom Coco, I tell you that. Mind you, that is a pretty high benchmark to aspire to. I'm a bit stuck.
You look quite bemused by this.
It's not really doing much. Well, I've got to say this is pretty thin, actually, and while the nose is pretty good, when I taste it, it doesn't really do what I thought it would. It starts off okay, but then just doesn't really progress. Usually when you go through a can, they build and build and build these sorts of beers and get better and better as you go down. The 10th sip tastes the same as the first one. It doesn't really go anywhere else for me.
Dare I say I think you mentioned perhaps this is a brewery with their history in cask and they're branching out into craft, and perhaps it's more of that approach to a craft beer which is coming through. Maybe.
I've got to say, though, it does not taste like 8%. I'm sure it is, but it really doesn't taste like it. So if you like this sort of thing and you want something strong that doesn't taste it, this is the one for you. But on the taste, for me, it's not really doing it.
How's the body holding up?
Well, I don't think there is much of a body to it, to be honest. It's a bit like, imagine that you're in an old farmhouse and the water hasn't been run for a little while, and you turn on the tap and this sort of brown stuff came out. Maybe it'd look a bit like this.
So you've got through it a little bit now. Is it a beer you'd have again, or is it a brewery you think you'd seek out again?
Well, there's one thing for sure. I am going to remember this brewery. They will live long in my memory. I'm not sure this particular stonker will, because I'm not sure it is a stonker. But if I saw them again, I'm all for giving somebody a second chance. And I did notice that if you go on their website, they've got free delivery if you spend £36 or more. And they've got 16 different beers on the website. So maybe that is a good offer. I noticed recently, according to their website, at the end of August, they added a 6th fermenter to their setup, so they're obviously making a lot of beer, so somebody up there's enjoying it. I probably would try some of their stuff again. I'll give anybody a second chance.
Daftaboutcraft.
Well, we hope you're enjoying the 3rd edition of Daftaboutcraft. And, we've got a change of tempo now. You've been listening to Dave and Dave talking for the last few minutes, and it's a time of the podcast where we welcome somebody else along to talk about what they've been doing. Somebody from a craft brewer. For the last 2 months, we've had Cameron from Turning Point and Aaron from Polly's Brew coming to chat with you. And this month, we're really, really happy to say we've got Frau Gruber on the podcast, a growing force on the craft scene based in Germany. And Daniel from Frau Gruber is here to take up their story.
Hey guys, it's Daniel from Frau Gruber Craft Brewing in Germany. Much appreciated for the invitation. And I would like to start giving you a quick introduction of the brewery. The name Frau Gruber Brewing is pretty simple explained. It is the surnames of both founders, Enzo Frauenthal and Matthias Gruber. So they merged both names and concluded that is a pretty cool name to kick off the company. The brewery itself is located 1.5 hours northwest from Munich and was established 2017, so we are a very young brewery. I've been asked to give you guys a quick wrap up what exciting projects we have been looking at so far in this year, and for us in the brewery, the most exciting project so far was the upgrade of our brew house beginning of this year. So with this upgrade, we are able to brew more batches per day, which give us the chance to cope with the increasing demand what we see. Beside that, I want to share some projects what is in the pipeline until end of this year, what is going on in the brewery, what kind of projects we have. So we have some stuff going on in the production area. So we have ordered 4 new additional fermentation tanks in order to also deal with the increasing demand. We have been ordering 2 yeast propagators. As you guys maybe know, Enzo, our owner and head brewmaster, is very into the topic yeast itself. So he ordered 2 of the propagators to develop the yeast in-house and to better control and develop the house strains even further. So that is a pretty cool project. We have a new water purification system ordered, and we have been ordering as well a 30-ton malt silo for our own grown barley. And maybe you have been reading about it a little bit on our Instagram. So we are growing our own barley with local farmers, and this year up to next year we are targeting 240 tons of homegrown barley, which is, I would say, also a very decent amount of barley, and we are very happy about that. Last but not least, we are developing a new customized dry hopping system in order to progress and further in the dry hopping section and create some even better crazy flavors. Or when it comes to special beers, what we have in the long-term release schedule, I would like to wrap it up like that we have a couple of very cool barrel-aged beers in the pipeline since 1.5 years, and we are targeting to release them end of the year or beginning of next year. And it's a couple of really, really nice barrel-aged stuff. Some imperial stouts, some porters, and some sours, aging in the barrel since over 1.5 years. And so visit our website, and there you can have a look what beers are in the pipeline, in the barrels, and so I can already give you a hint. It's very cool stuff in the barrels. So that was it from my side. Quick update. So have a good day and stay hoppy. Cheers. Bye bye.
Now, for those of you who've heard our previous couple of podcasts, you might be familiar with a little feature we've done on both of them.
Next time you're at the checkout and you hear that beep.
And we're going to do it again.
Next time you're at the checkout and you hear that beep.
It's time for Supermarket Sweep.
Next time you're at the checkout, Supermarket Sweep.
Which is where we take a look at the supermarket shelves, grab one of the beers off those shelves, try it, and tell you what we think of it. And, this time we've gone for an old classic. Dave B, do you want to tell everybody about it?
The temptation obviously would be to do something with another supermarket chain who have gone rather mad in the last couple of weeks, and we will, but you'll have to wait and tune in until October until we do that. So for now, as Dave says, we've gone for a classic. We've gone for Northern Monk Faith. And the reasoning behind this was it's all very well. People like Dave and myself can get very excited about the newest 6% double dry hopped IPA, which has come out from the latest craft brewer, and get a bit blasé about beers that have been around doing it for quite a long time. Whereas there's hopefully some other people out there who haven't tried Faith yet or something equivalent to. And we just wanted to give this bit of a road test and see how it holds up, really.
Now, we've both had this beer before. I've got to say, I'm a fan. And Dave B's a bit of a skeptic when it comes to this beer. He's not. He doesn't hold it in such esteem as I do. Put it that way, do you, Dave?
No, it's nothing against Northern Monk. I love Northern Monk. I don't seek this out, and I wouldn't necessarily think if, say, well, the weather's probably changed now. We're not going to have any more barbecues. It is Britain after all. But if I was taking some beers somewhere for an event like that, or had some people around and wanted to give them something, I wouldn't probably have Faith near the top of my pile. So I'm open for being changed on that. But yeah, my expectations aren't probably that high. This is a bit of a I'd have it if I have to beer.
Whereas now, if I was going to a barbecue and there was lots of non-crafty people there, this is the beer I would take them, because I think it is fabulous. I've got to like it over the time. When I first had it, I thought, yeah, it's okay. But then I've turned a corner with it and I really love it. And I do seek it out. If it's a nice warm day outside, I will go to the fridge and pull some out. There's always some in there. And I love it. I really do. I can't speak highly enough of it. Let's see. Let's open a can. I've actually got a 440ml version of it here, rather than the 330ml you get in the supermarkets. But the reason for that, I think I have got a 330 in the fridge, but I just wanted a longer drink right now, and I'm looking forward to this very much. It's 5.4%, categorised by Northern Monk as a hazy pale ale. The old standards are in there: Citra, some Mosaic, and then there's Columbus. Dave, have you tried it?
Yeah, I've opened it up. I've had a couple of sips out of it. What's quite good actually is my Brew To Me was exactly the same strength at 5.4.
Okay.
And we're also down that route of hazy and pale. This would have less dry hopping. I would much rather have that than I would this Faith. This doesn't do an awful lot for me.
We often say that beers don't go anywhere, but for me, you see, this starts off well. It doesn't need to go anywhere because it's already there. It does exactly what it's supposed to do from the first mouthful, and it just stays the same for the whole drink, and it's consistent. It's consistently good.
I can't fault that. You're right. It is consistent. And yes, it's certainly not unpleasant. It's just okay. It's not going to live long in the memory. Yes, I could have another can of it. I did buy the 4-pack. I could drink these, and I could drink these when, say, it's the first beer when I'm cooking while I'm making dinner or something like that. It fulfills that role perfectly. So I guess if that's what you want from your supermarket beer, this fills the brief. Easy drinking.
It's not too challenging, is it? That's what you've got to say.
No.
It isn't. If you have something from one of our Scandinavian friends, it's going to test your taste buds a little bit. And this doesn't, does it? But like I say, for me, straight in there, tastes good, smells good, happy days.
Just for me, I'd rather spend my money on, say, that Playbrew High Roller and try that at the similar-ish kind of price point than I would for getting multiple cans of this, which I know is slightly not what we're trying to do with Supermarket Sweep, because it is very much about finding what's in the supermarkets, and this definitely has its place.
And do you think this would pull people into the craft scene, though, if they tried this?
Well, that's probably where it's falling down for me, because I just now think there's so much choice out there that you could easily get this from quite a lot of other breweries and probably better versions of it. Yes, you might have to pay more sometimes, but I also think you might be able to find, certainly if some of the smaller guys who are online and doing cans, which you can buy direct from, and the pricing's pretty reasonable now, it wouldn't be too dissimilar. So for this one, I'm a little bit torn, because I like Northern Monk, but Northern Monk are doing so well and have all their other price points and have their other ways of you to be able to get their beer. Do I need to be giving them some money for 4 cans of Faith when I could maybe go and support a slightly smaller up-and-coming brewery and have just a nicer can for maybe a little bit more money? I think that's probably the dilemma I've got with this beer now.
I can see your point exactly, but imagine this. I was in a bottle shop a few weeks ago. There was a craft section. I'm stood there looking at the different beers on offer, and this old guy was there as well, looking at all the cans. He said, "Oh, I love the craft beers, love them." But he said, "My problem is I can't afford to spend £5 a can all the time. I just have them as a treat." So there would be a lot of people in that situation as well who don't want to spend £5, £6, £7 on a can. They just want to spend £1 or £2. And for me, again, this does the job very nicely.
If you like this beer, get some more by all means, but maybe then think, I wonder who else might do a beer like this that I like, and start exploring, because this isn't going full circle. This is a good gateway beer, but I would say don't get hooked on this, because there's different varieties out there which are very good, and yes, you might have to pay a little bit more, but it'll totally be worth it.
As you can tell, I'm a big Northern Monk fan. And of course, they are one of the breweries we're going to be seeing much more of on the supermarket shelves in Morrison's in the coming weeks, because as of September the 7th, I think it is, Morrison's are going to start stocking even more craft beers. Not just Northern Monk, but also an Omnipollo as well. Dave, do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, they've sort of set fire to our little corner of the internet in the last few days with all these beer drops. It's Tesco's were sort of the gold standard almost of supermarket beer, and Morrison's have certainly, obviously the proof is going to be in the tasting of all these beers, but they've done their absolute best to come and blow them out of the water with the releases. As Dave said, is headlined by Omnipollo, which is quite incredible. They are only releasing this beer to a few of their stores, and I completely understand why, because flooding the market with a product that expensive would be a heck of an outlay.
Your normal shopper, your normal everyday person, A, they're not going to know what Omnipollo is, and B, they're not going to spend £9 on an Omnipollo, are they?
They must be subsidising it relatively heavily, because if this beer is going to be on the shelves at, say, £9-10, it's going to be quite an ask for a lot of people to suddenly chuck that in their weekly shop.
It's a very interesting call on Omnipollo's behalf as well, really, because many people would perceive a brewery like them getting into a mainstream supermarket. They're sort of diluting their product a little bit as well.
They are, although I wonder if this just goes back to what we were just saying. How many people know Omnipollo? Yes, they're like synonymous with Madcap stouts, and the flavour profiles they pull off the beers within craft beer is, I think it's probably fair to say legendary. Man on the street and woman on the street probably don't know Omnipollo very much. So is this going to pick up many new fans? I'm quite sceptical that it will. I think it's great that it's in there, and I think it's great that they're doing this sort of small batch release almost to a few stores, but I don't know whether it's going to work or not. I think they could have, judging on what we've done with the rest of their releases, I think they could have stuck with those, but they've sort of gone for this big, and it's got people talking, so job done in that sense.
Definitely. Morrison's have also got other names lined up. They've got various Buxtons, they've got a Vocation and Brew York, and I'll be very, very interested to try that, because Vocation have massively raised their game, it seems, in the last few weeks, with a series of barrel-aged stouts and all sorts of single-hopped releases. And they seem to have branched out from being just a supermarket brewery. They've done some wonderful beers, standalone beers that they've sold elsewhere, and they're teaming up with Brew York for one in Morrison's, and again, Brew York, another great name, so I can't wait to try that. There's also some new beers from Salts, various other Northern Monks, various Sirens. It's a fascinating time on the supermarket shelves. There's a North beer in there as well. So some big hitters will be on those Morrison's shelves very soon.
So now it's time for a new feature, which we are calling Under the Radar. It's quite self-explanatory. It's going to be one beer from myself and one beer from my fellow Dave that we've both had in the last month, which we've really enjoyed, but we probably feel more people should be talking about and enjoying. So the beer I've picked is from Danish brewer Ale Farm, and it's called Now Is the Time. It's a 6% IPA. And what made this beer stand out is the selling point of spruce tips, which is what they've included along with dry hopping Simcoe, Chinook BBC and Citra BBC hops. The difference spruce tips made, I think it made it really menthol and eucalyptus on the nose and also slightly to taste, but it just made it really chewy, but in a really good sense. It sort of tasted that freshness of the spruce that really came through the longer I had it. And I just really enjoyed it. If you've not had any Ale Farm, I really recommend them. They're a Scandinavian brewer, so unfortunately there is a bit of a markup on the price. It's never the cheapest stuff to get hold of, but there does seem to be a bit of movement in that recently. I've seen a lot more Scandinavian stuff coming over here, and it's accordingly knocking the price down, which is good. And this just really stood out. It's a beer that I had a few weeks ago, but if I still cast my mind back, I can still sort of remember the taste, which is something that's always quite important to me. If the beer stands out, I can remember where I was, how it tasted type thing. And this did stick with me. So it's just a beer that works well in the summer, but given that sort of mentholy taste you get from the spruce, I think it'd work really well in autumn as well. It's just really enjoyable. And at 6%, it didn't taste like that. It actually tasted like it was a bit stronger than that somehow because it was so thick. So can't recommend it enough. It's definitely about online still, and hopefully in some bottle shops up and down the country as well. So if you see it on the shelf, it's really easy to spot because it's got spruce tips on the can. Heartily recommend it. Seek it out and hopefully you enjoy it.
And for my Under the Radar, I'm not straying too far from home. Those of you who might have listened to the last couple of podcasts know that I'm in the West Midlands, so I'm going for a West Midlands based brewery, and it's Leviathan Brewing, which started a couple of years ago. They're in a Sutton Coalfield on the outskirts of Birmingham. They produce some really good beers. They're only on a small scale, but they've got their own web shop where they sell their own stuff, a bit of merchandise as well, and lots of cans from other breweries. But their own stuff is really good, and one of the ones that sticks out from the last month is Number of the Feast. Now, Chris, the guy behind the brewery, he likes to combine his love of rock, heavy metal music with his imagery on his cans and the names of his beers. And the Number of the Feast is, it's described as being a chocolate ice cream milk stout, which was recommended for the summer. It actually came out in July, this beer did. But I can easily, a bit like Dave was saying with his beer, see me drinking this if I can get hold of it in the autumn and the winter as well. It is tremendous. There's no doubt about that. I really enjoyed this. Now, Number of the Feast conjures up all sorts of images in your mind, and you won't be surprised to learn that it is supposedly 6.66% ABV. I'm not sure it actually is, but probably something near to that. And I wrote a few notes down here when I had it a couple of weeks ago. I actually wrote, first taste of Leviathan for a while, and what a cracker. Smooth, velvety chocolate, luxury in a glass. And I think when you use those words, smooth, luxury, velvet, you can just imagine pouring it out. You know exactly how that's going to taste when you put it in your mouth, and this was perfect. I'd recommend it to anybody. I think they've actually sold out at Leviathan, but you can get it elsewhere. I've seen it in various bottle shops. If you do see it, get a hold of it. You won't be disappointed. And I believe that Leviathan are thinking of opening their own tap room at some point down the line. I think the coronavirus puts the nail in that coffin in the short term, but long term, that's their plan. So if you're ever in the West Midlands near Birmingham and it's open, get along there or get onto their website and get some of their beers, because I've had some others as well. Chris, the guy behind the brewery, actually popped a few cans around here a few weeks ago, and can't argue at all. All very, very good, and I think they're a brewery that needs more people to know about them. So Leviathan is the name. Get hold of some cans if you can.
Daftaboutcraft.
Well, it's that time again when we ask the question, is it hype or is it tripe? Is it good? Is it bad? We take a beer that's been doing the rounds all over the place, getting loads of really positive feedback, and we sample it and we give our view. And this one has sort of done the rounds twice, actually, because from S43 it was released originally under one name, and then it's just been re-released under the name The One We Can't Talk About. Dave, do you want to pick up the story?
Yeah, it's the one they can't talk about because the branding was rather on point, shall we say, in terms of mimicking a very famous chocolate bar. It comes in a brown wrapper, if that helps narrow it down. Obviously did very well, but I suspect it perhaps attracted the attention of the people who make said chocolate bar. So here it is again now in a black can.
Yes, we should tell people it was originally called You're Not You When You're Thirsty, and a peanut butter stout at 9%. Now, it's still that, but it's been enhanced a little bit, I believe. The recipe has slightly changed.
Yeah, so the You're Not You When You're Thirsty is very much a play on a popular advert of said chocolate bar. So this is where we're at now with it. Most importantly, this beer is still around, so does it taste any good? Initial impressions are actually really positive. When it came out the can, I got a lovely, big, thick, foamy, sort of malty, mockery head. It smelt of peanut butter. It still smells of peanut butter. The head's dissipated a bit, but it's held together pretty well. But the peanut butter's really there on the nose. It's a little bit caramelly as well, which is a good sign.
It's lovely and thick as well, isn't it? That pours very well. Lovely. Yeah,
it's a really nice pour. I mean, I hate peanut butter, but I love peanut butter-based stouts. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, that is spot on.
That is banging. Quite happily get stuck into that.
Can we get some more cans in quick, please?
That is, that is really good.
I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to let the listeners into a little secret. I got a can of this a couple of weeks ago, and I stupidly knocked it over the other night onto a concrete floor, and I actually pierced the can. Oh, God. And it was spurting out. So I wrapped it up with some tape to try and hold it together. Didn't work, of course. So I ended up pouring it into a plastic bottle, putting a tight lid on it, and hiding it away in the dark and praying that it wouldn't affect the taste. And it still tastes amazing. So I can only imagine that yours tastes even better, Dave.
Yeah, I can actually vouch that I was a sensible person and got my can, put it in a fridge, then got it out a few hours ago, and it sat on the side and warmed up. It never touched a concrete floor, and it's superb for not doing so. What's actually quite interesting is I'm just looking at the back of this, and the hops, malt, and the yeast all used, all British or English even. And it's just sort of a bit of a nod to show that you actually can do this. But I'm not trying to pile on for those that listened last month where we had the Tunnock Stout, which really didn't deliver. It does go to show that in the right hands, you can really make something quite delicious using those sorts of same ingredients. Now, this is superb. I'm not sure there's too many adjuncts in here, actually.
There is lactose in there, and I think when we reviewed the Tunnocks last month, we said I'd love to try a version with lactose, and maybe that's what's making the difference, because that is rich and thick and creamy and all the rest of it. That's lovely.
Well, notice there's some nut-free extract, which I think
that definitely comes through, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gives you that peanut buttery bit right at the back. That's the nuttiness. It's bang on point. The chocolate bar it is trying to mimic, it is mimicking 100%. By no means is this the only peanut butter stout you can have which would taste on similar lines, but reviewing this in isolation, it is spot on.
And in the blink of an eye, we seem to be at the end of the podcast already. That has absolutely flown by this month, but we hope you've enjoyed everything you've listened to. And more importantly, we hope you come back again next month and listen to it all again.
Yeah, I've had a great time. I don't remember having as positive a session on the beers actually compared to how the other episodes have gone. I know I'm a massively harsh critic, but I've actually really enjoyed everything I've had for this episode, which is very encouraging and just goes to show that there's so much good beer out there now that you can account for pretty much every taste, even someone as picky as I am, basically.
Even someone as harsh and critical as you are, there's something out there for you.
Exactly. There is most definitely something for everyone now. It doesn't really matter what your taste is. There will be a beer out there that you will like. That I can say with pretty much utmost confidence.
And we said last month how there's always so much happening on the craft scene, so much coming out each month. Every month we do have something different to talk about. There's new talking points, there's new beers. It's just such a fast-moving scene, and it's really great to be a little part of it in our own little corner of the internet here. So thanks for downloading this podcast and listening to us literally in your hundreds over the last couple of months. Please keep downloading us, and please keep telling your beer friends all about us. Get them to download it as well, and keep the feedback coming, whether it's positive, negative, whatever it is. It's really great to hear from you. If you've got anything you'd like to point out to us, or anything you'd like to ask us or to include in the programme, why don't you email us at daftaboutcraft1@gmail.com, or there's Twitter and Instagram and our Facebook page as well. Get in touch some way. We'd love to hear from you.
Exactly, and tell your non-beer friends as well. We're very much keen to get everyone on board with this. Keep tuning in, and if you can't wait a month to hear from us again, get in touch with us on all those platforms. We're more than happy to talk anytime about all things craft. So keep talking to us. We love having the interaction, and we look forward to giving you episode 4 again next month, and we hope you enjoy this one.
So join us in a month's time. First Monday of October, we'll be back to do it all again.